I heard it with my own ears. Why is she even still alive? The laugh that came after was not loud. It was small and sharp. It went straight through me. I stood behind the wooden gate with a glass dish of peach cobbler in my hands. The dish was still warm. My hands did not shake. Not yet. I did not leave. I lifted the latch and walked into that backyard like I had heard nothing at all. Past the string lights, past the long tables, past the faces that did not turn to look at me. Some of those people shared my blood. Some were strangers. Not one of them smiled. Someone cleared their throat. "Oh, Camille, we did not know you were coming. That was Tara, my son's wife." The same voice I had heard behind the fence. "I brought cobbler," I said. No one reached out to take the dish. I found a spot at this far end of the table. The folding chair creaked when I sat. My back ached, but I sat up straight. The air smelled of grilled meat and citronella candles. Music played from someone's phone. It was too fast and too loud for anyone my age. They laughed, they ate, they drank. I watched. At one point, Dale, my son, raised his beer. "To family," he said. The glasses clinked together. No one looked my way. My grandchildren ran past me 3 times. Piper, Colton. Not one of them stopped. Not one of them said hello. I wondered if they even knew me without the grocery bags in my arms. I used to bring them candy in little plastic bags. Gummy worms. Piper used to squeal when she saw me coming. That was a long time ago now. Tara came over near the end. She leaned in with that thin smile she saves for photos. "Did you want a plate?" I looked up at her. "I am fine," I said. She nodded too fast and walked away before I could say more. I stayed until it was over. I helped stack the plates. I folded the napkins. I wiped the sticky table with a damp paper towel while the others drifted inside. No one asked me to help. No one asked me to stop. I was already half invisible, so I did what invisible women do. I cleaned up after the party, and I let them forget I was there. Then I picked up my empty glass dish, still warm from the afternoon sun, and I left. Not in anger, not in tears. I left with a decision starting to form somewhere quiet inside me. The drive home was short. I have made it 100 times. Their house sits on the good side of town, the side with the wide lots and the new sidewalks. My little place is on the older side where the trees are bigger and the houses are smaller. I pulled into my driveway and I sat in the car for a while with the engine off. The cobbler dish sat on the seat beside me. I had made that cobbler at 6 in the morning. I had used the good peaches. I had thought foolishly that someone might say thank you. That night I did not eat. I washed the dish and dried it and put it back in the cabinet where it belongs. Then I went to bed and I lay in the dark and I listened to the house settle around me. My house is always quiet. I used to hate the quiet. That night I did not. The next morning I made coffee in my smallest pot. Just 1 cup. I sat at the little table by the window in my own kitchen in the chair I have sat in for years. The light came in slow and pale. For a long time I had told myself the same soft story every time it hurt. He did not mean it. She was just tired. They have busy lives. I had wrapped every insult in cotton and set it on a shelf. That morning I did not reach for the cotton. I let the thing sit there and be what it was. My son had laughed. That was the plain fact of it. His wife had wondered out loud why I was still breathing, and my son had laughed, and no part of me could pretend anymore that it was a joke I had misheard. I got up and went to the hallway closet. In the back, behind the winter coats, I keep a gray filing cabinet. I worked as a bookkeeper for 31 years. I kept the books for the building supply store on Main Street until my knees told me to stop. When you spend your life balancing other people's numbers, you learn to keep your own papers in order. Every receipt, every letter, every form, all of it filed and labeled. I pulled the drawer open and found the folder. I had written the label myself years ago in blue pen. Whitfield House. Not my house. Their house. The one Dale and Tara live in. I carried the folder to the kitchen table and I opened it, and the truth I had let myself forget rose right up off the pages. Here is what people believed. They believed I had given Dale a little help once long ago, and that the help was over and done. They believed I was a guest in that house, a guest who could be seated by the trash so I would not spoil the look of the party. That is the story the family told. It was not the story in the folder. 18 years ago, when Gerald died, I was 54 years old and suddenly alone in a house that was far too big for one woman. So I sold it. It was a good house and it sold well. I took a small part of that money and bought the little place I live in now, just enough for me. Then I took the larger part and I put it together with Gerald's life insurance and I gave it to Dale and Tara so they could buy the home they wanted. They were young. They had just found out Piper was on the way. I wanted my grandchildren to grow up somewhere solid, somewhere that would not blow away. But I was not foolish. Even then, some careful part of me spoke up. I did not simply hand over the money and walk away. My name went on the deed with theirs. I was one of the owners. On paper and ink at the county office, I owned a share of that house. Tenants in common, the lawyer called it back then. It meant each of us held a real piece. Mine did not disappear just because I stopped talking about it. And I never stopped holding up my end. The folder proved it. 18 years of property tax notices, and behind each one my own canceled checks because I was the one who paid the taxes. Not once or twice. Every single year. When the roof failed in a storm, I paid for the new one. $4,000, and I remember writing that check without a second thought. When the furnace died one January, Dale said it was not worth fixing. I paid for a new furnace anyway, so my grandchildren would not be cold. When the pipes rusted through, I paid the plumber. Receipt after receipt after receipt. I had kept them all. Old habit. A bookkeeper's habit. I never thought I would need them. That morning I understood that I did. I sat there and felt something turn over in my chest. It was not sadness, though the sadness was there too. It was closer to clarity. They had rewritten my whole part in the story. They had turned me from an owner into a beggar. From the woman who kept the lights on into an old woman they tolerated at the far end of the table. Then I remembered the paper. For the last few weeks, Tara had been after me about a form. She had brought it up at the grocery store. She had texted about it twice. Camille, the bank just needs you to sign something so they can clean up the paperwork on the house. It is only a formality. Dale will bring it by. She had made it sound like nothing. A little chore. A tidy loose end that only I was holding up. And I had almost signed it. That is the part that turns my stomach even now. Dale had left it on my counter one evening with a pen laid across it, friendly as could be, and I had picked up that pen. My hand had been an inch from the line. Then the phone rang. It was a wrong number, and I set the pen down and told him I would look at it later. He did not push. He smiled and said, "No rush, Mom." No rush. But his eyes had followed the pen. The form was still on my counter. I went and got it and brought it back to the table, and I read it slowly this time, the way I used to read a contract for the store line by line, no skimming. It was a quitclaim deed. I knew the words. A quitclaim deed is how you give up a claim to a piece of property. If I signed it, I would be handing my entire share of that house to Dale and Tara. My name would come off the deed. Everything I had put in the down payment, the 18 years of taxes, the roof, the furnace, the pipes, all of it would become theirs and theirs alone. And I would have signed it away myself for free, thinking I was helping the bank tidy up. I set the paper down. I did not cry. I was too busy thinking. The house was quiet around me. I looked at that folder for a long time. All those years. All that money. And they wanted my name on a single page that would erase me. I want to be honest about something. Part of me still wanted to believe it was a mistake. That Tara had not really understood what the form was. That Dale had not really laughed at that gate. But I am 72 years old. I have watched people my whole life. You learn the difference between a person who forgot you and a person who is counting on you to forget yourself. Tara had not made a mistake. She had made a plan. And Dale had gone along with it, the way he goes along with everything now. That afternoon I did something I had not done in a long time. I made a decision and I did not ask anyone's permission for it. I picked up the phone and I called Lorraine. Lorraine and I have played bridge on and off for years. We are not close the way I was once close with people, but she is sharp, and she is honest, and she does not waste words. Her husband spent his career in real estate. I figured she would know someone. "Lorraine," I said, "I need the name of a good lawyer. Not just any lawyer. Someone who works with older people. Wills property, that kind of thing." She did not ask me why. That is one of the good things about Lorraine. She just said, "Hold on," and I heard her flipping through something, and then she gave me a name. Nadine Alcott. Lorraine said she was the one to call for exactly this kind of thing and that she was kind, but she never missed anything. She read me the number and I wrote it on the back of an envelope. "Thank you," I said. Camille, Lorraine said before she hung up. "Whatever it is, you are allowed." I sat with that for a minute after the line went quiet. You are allowed. Such a small thing to say, but I had spent so many years believing the opposite, that a good mother gives and does not count the cost, that a grandmother waits by the window and takes what she is given and is grateful, that making a fuss is selfish and ugly. I had believed all of it. I had lived by all of it. And it had landed me at the far end of a table next to the trash listening to my own son laugh at the idea of my death. That evening I did not turn on the television. There were no calls to return anyway. I made myself a piece of toast because I was not hungry enough for more. Then I sat at the kitchen table with a clean sheet of paper in front of me and a pen in my hand. I did not write a letter. I did not write a list. I wrote one name at the top of the page. Dale. I looked at it for a while. My son. The boy who used to line his toy dinosaurs along the windowsill and give them names like they were classmates. The boy who once climbed the apple tree and got stuck and cried until I came out barefoot and furious and carried the ladder over myself. The boy who hugged me so hard after shaking and made me promise not to tell anyone. I never told. That boy was gone. He had been gone a long time. Somewhere along the way he had turned into a man who could stand in his own backyard and laugh, while his wife wondered why his mother was still breathing. I drew a single line through the name. Straight and slow. Not a scribble. Not anger, just a line. Then I sat back and I felt the strangest thing. I felt calm, not happy, not at peace exactly, but steady like a boat that had finally stopped rocking. For 18 years I had been pouring myself into a house that was quietly planning to erase me. Now I knew. And knowing changed everything. I did not sleep much that night, but I did not toss and turn either. I lay in the dark and I thought about the folder on the table. All those receipts. All those years of my name on that deed. They had counted on me being too tired, too trusting, too old to read the fine print. They had counted on me signing the pen away with a smile. They had counted wrong. In the morning I would call Nadine Alcott. I would bring the folder. I would bring the quitclaim deed I had almost signed. I would sit across a desk from a woman who knew the law, and I would find out exactly what I still had and exactly what I could still do. I was not going to take the house out from under my grandchildren. I want to say that plainly because it matters. Piper and Colton had done nothing but copy the grown-ups around them, and children can be taught something better. This was never about throwing anyone out of their beds, but my share was mine. My name was on that deed for a reason, and I was done letting people treat what was mine as if it were nothing. Before I finally closed my eyes, I thought about the question one more time. The question from behind the gate. Why is she even still alive? I did not have the whole answer yet, but I had the start of one. I was still alive because there was something left for me to do. And in the morning, I was going to start doing it. Nadine Alcott's office was on the second floor of an old brick building downtown above a shop that sold quilting supplies. I climbed the stairs slowly because of my knees, but I climbed them on my own. I had dressed with care that morning. Ironed slacks. My good navy cardigan with the pearl buttons that still catch the light. When you are about to change the shape of your life, you wear something with buttons. Her waiting room smelled like coffee and old paper. A young man offered me a cup, and I said no thank you. My hands did not need help staying steady that day. When Nadine came out to meet me, I liked her at once. She was maybe 50 with reading glasses pushed up into her gray-streaked hair and a handshake that meant it. Her desk was neat. There was a mug on it that said I read the fine print for fun. I decided right then that Lorraine had sent me to the right woman. Tell me what brings you in, she said once we were seated. I did not ramble. I had spent the night getting the story straight in my head. I put the folder on her desk and I told her the shape of it, that I had helped my son and his wife buy their house 18 years ago, that my name was on the deed as one of the owners, that I had paid the property taxes and the major repairs every year since, and that they had been pushing me to sign a form the bank supposedly needed. I laid the quitclaim deed on top of the folder last like the ace it was. Nadine picked it up and read it. She did not rush. She turned it over, checked the back, set it down. Then she opened my folder and went through the tax notices and the canceled checks and the repair receipts one section at a time. She made a small sound in her throat that I could not read. You understand what this form is, she said. It was not really a question. It is a quitclaim deed, I said. If I sign it, I give up my share of the house. She nodded slowly. That is exactly what it is. And you have not signed it. No, I said. I almost did. I did not. Good, she said. Do not. Whatever else happens, do not sign anything they put in front of you until you and I have looked at it together. Will you promise me that?" I promised. She sat back and took her glasses off and looked at me the way a doctor looks at you when the news is not a disaster, but it is not nothing either. "Camille," she said, "I want to tell you what you have because I think you have been told a very different story for a very long time. You are not a guest in that house. You are a legal owner of it. Your name is on the deed. That does not fade. It does not expire because they stopped inviting you to dinner. As things stand today, you own a real share of that property, and no one can take that share from you without your signature or a court order." I let those words settle. I own a real share. I had known it in my head since the night before. Hearing another person say it out loud made it true in a different way. "There is more," she said, tapping the folder. "These receipts matter. You did not just help with the down payment. You have carried the taxes and the big repairs for 18 years. In the eyes of the law, that strengthens your position. If this ever went before a judge, all of this would count. You have kept a record most people never bother to keep. It was smart." "I was a bookkeeper," I said. "Keeping records is the only thing I ever really knew how to do." She smiled at that. "Then it served you well." We talked for a while about what I wanted, and I found that I did not fully know yet. I knew what I did not want. I did not want to sign that form. I did not want to be erased. And I did not want to be caught off guard again. So Nadine walked me through the ways I could protect myself starting that very day. The first thing she asked surprised me. "Did you ever sign a power of attorney?" she said. "Naming your son, maybe? Sometimes families set these up after a health scare." I had almost forgotten. 3 years ago, I had a bad fall in the icy driveway. I cracked my hip. I was in the hospital for a week and scared out of my mind, and Dale had come to me with papers and said, "Mom, we should set this up just in case so I can handle things if you cannot." It was a durable power of attorney. I had signed it from a hospital bed with a wrist that still hurt. He never mentioned it again. I never thought about it again either. It just sat somewhere in a drawer at their house. Nadine's face changed slightly when I told her. Not alarm, more like a piece clicking into place. "That needs to come back," she said. "Today. As long as that power of attorney is active, your son has legal authority to act on some of your affairs. We are going to revoke it. I will draw up the revocation, we will get it notarized here, and I will make sure the right people receive notice of it. Banks, the county, anyone who might rely on it." "Could he have used it?" I asked to sign the house away without me. "Not cleanly," she said. "If he used your power of attorney to transfer your share of the house to himself and his wife, that is what we call self-dealing. He would be standing on both sides of the deal, acting for you and for himself at the same time. A court can undo a transfer like that. It is exactly the kind of thing that gets set aside. Which is probably," she said, "why they wanted your real signature on a quitclaim instead. Your signature freely given is much harder to challenge later. That is the clean way to erase you. And you nearly gave it to them." I felt the floor tilt a little under that. They had not just been careless with me. They had chosen the careful path, the one that would hold up, the one that would leave me with nothing and no way to argue. We revoked the power of attorney that morning. I signed the revocation in slow, firm strokes, and the young man from the waiting room notarized it, and Nadine made copies for me to keep. There was one more thing she wanted, and it was the one that stung a little to hear. A letter from my doctor, she said, stating that I am of sound mind and able to make my own decisions. Why, I asked. "Do you think I am not?" "I think you are sharper than most people half your age," she said gently. "But here is what I have seen too many times. When an older person suddenly starts saying no, the family that is used to hearing yes will sometimes go looking for a way to say she is confused. She is not herself. She cannot be trusted to manage her own affairs. Sometimes they even ask a court to appoint someone to control her for her own good. It is called guardianship. It is one of the ugliest things I deal with. A clean letter from your doctor on file before any of that starts takes the weapon out of their hands. I would rather have it and never need it." I sat with that for a moment. I thought about Tara's thin smile, about the way she talked about me at parties like I was a chore, about how easy it would be for her to tell people that poor Camille was getting forgetful. "Set it up," I said. "I will see my doctor this week." "Good," Nadine said. She wrote something on a pad. "Now, there is a question I have to ask, and I want you to think before you answer because it changes what we do next. Do you have any idea why they need your signature right now? Why the sudden push about the paperwork? A deed like this sits quiet for 18 years. Then, all at once, it is urgent. That usually means something is moving on their end. I did not have an answer at first. Then I did, and it came from a strange place. It came from town. You hear things in a small town whether you want to or not. I had heard over the past year that Tara's business was not doing well. She runs one of those home decor shops out on the highway, the kind with candles and signs that tell you to live, laugh, love. Glinda, my neighbor, had mentioned that the shop was quiet these days. Empty parking lot. And there had been talk the vague kind about money troubles. I had not paid much attention. It was not my business. Now I wondered if it was. I told Nadine what I knew. She listened, then she nodded like it fit. "Here is what I think may be happening," she said. "And I want to be clear, this is a guess until we confirm it. If they are short on money, one common move is to borrow against the house. Pull the equity out. It is called a cash-out refinance. You take a new, bigger loan against the property, pay off the old loan, and walk away with the difference in cash. For a house that has gone up in value over 18 years, that difference could be a large sum. And they cannot do it," I said slowly, "because of me." "Because of you," she agreed. "To refinance a property, the lender needs every owner on the deed to sign. Every single one. You are on that deed. That makes you not a loose end. It makes you the lock on the door. They cannot pull a dime out of that house without your name. So first they tried to get you off the deed quietly with the quitclaim so they could borrow freely afterward. You holding that pen is the only thing standing between them and the money they need." I sat there in that neat office above the quilting shop, and I felt something I had not felt in years. Not anger, though anger was in it. It was more like being handed back a piece of myself I had misplaced. For so long I had believed I was the one who needed them, the one who waited to be included, the one who brought cobbler and hoped. And the whole time, without knowing it, I had been holding the one thing they could not do without. They did not need my signature because I was family. They needed it because the bank required it. And they had dressed it up as a favor, as a formality, as cleaning up the paperwork, because they knew if I understood the truth, I might say no. I said it out loud mostly to myself. They were not tolerating me at that table. They were managing me. Nadine did not disagree. We made a plan before I left. She would confirm what she could through the public records, the deed, the current loan, anything filed at the county. I would see my doctor and get the letter. I would keep the folder somewhere safe, and I would not under any circumstances sign anything. "If they come to you," she said, "and they will, you do not need to explain yourself. You do not owe them a lecture. You can simply say you have decided not to sign and that you are speaking with a lawyer now and leave it there. Silence is allowed. In fact, silence is often smarter than any speech." I thanked her, and I gathered my folder, and I walked down those stairs and back out into the afternoon. The sun was bright. The quilting shop had a window full of bright fabric. I stood on the sidewalk for a moment, and I felt taller than I had in a long time. My spine felt like it had real weight again. They came, of course. Nadine had said they would, and she was right. It was Dale 2 evenings later. I heard his car in the driveway before I saw him. He sat out there for a minute with the engine running the way he does when he is working up to something. Then he came to the door and knocked, and when I opened it, he had that same easy smile from the party and a folder under his arm, and I knew what was inside it. "Hey, Mom," he said. "I was in the neighborhood. Thought I would swing by." He was never in my neighborhood by accident. My neighborhood is not on the way to anywhere he goes. "Come in," I said, but I did not offer him coffee, and he noticed. He sat at my kitchen table at the same table where the quitclaim had sat an inch under my pen a few weeks before. He talked for a while about nothing. The kids, the weather, Colton's soccer. I let him talk. Then he set the folder on the table and slid the paper halfway out, and there it was again, and he tapped it with 2 fingers like it was the most casual thing in the world. "So the bank is still waiting on this," he said. "I keep meaning to get it off your plate. It really is just a formality, Mom. Cleans up the title so the loan situation is simpler. You would be doing us a real favor." I looked at the paper. Then I looked at my son. He met my eyes for a second and then looked away, and in that second I saw that he knew. He was not confused. He was not being used by Tara without understanding it. He knew exactly what that paper did, and he had come to my house with his easy smile to get me to sign away everything I had given him so he could borrow against the house I helped him buy, and I would never see any of it again. "Dale," I said, "I know what that is." He blinked. The smile stayed, but it went stiff at the corners. "What do you mean?" he said. It is a quitclaim deed, I said. My voice was calm. I surprised myself with how calm it was. If I sign it, I give up my share of the house, and I am not going to sign it. For a moment he did not say anything. Then he laughed, a short one, the same laugh from the party, and it did not go through me this time. It just landed on the table between us and sat there. Mom, come on, he said. Your share. It is not like that. We have lived there for 18 years. It is our home. I paid the taxes for 18 years, I said. I paid for the roof. I paid for the furnace you did not want to fix. My name is on the deed, Dale. I know it is. And I am one of the owners of that house. I have always been. His face did something then. The smile finally left it. Underneath was a look I had not seen since he was a boy caught in a lie, that hot-cornered look. Who told you all this? He said. Have you been talking to somebody? I have a lawyer now, I said simply. Her name is Nadine Alcott. Anything you want me to sign you can send to her, and she will look at it. I will not be signing anything at this table. He stood up fast. The chair scraped. You have a lawyer, he repeated like the words did not fit in his mouth, over a piece of paper. Mom, do you hear yourself? This is family. We are not your enemies. I stayed in my chair. I did not raise my voice. Then you will not mind that I am protecting myself, I said. Family should not mind that. He gathered up his folder. He did not slide the paper back in gently. He shoved it. At the door, he turned around, and for a second I thought he might say something real, something true, something from the boy who used to hug me and shake. But he only said, You are making a mistake. And then he left. I watched his car back out of the driveway too fast and disappear down the street. I did not feel triumphant. I felt clear. There is a difference. The next morning I called a locksmith. A polite young man came and changed the locks on my front and back doors. I made 4 copies of the new keys. 1 stayed in my purse. 1 went in a small fireproof box in my closet. 1 I gave to Glenda next door because I trust her. The last one went to Nadine's office to keep on file. Then I sat down with my phone and I found Dale's number and I blocked it. Not out of hate. I want to be clear about that. I blocked it because every time it rang I would wonder if I should answer, and I did not want to wonder anymore. I had a lawyer for the paperwork. I had a locksmith for the doors. And I had, for the first time in a very long time, a clear head. That night I slept well. No pills, no pacing at the window. I lay in the dark in my own house with my own locks, with my name still on that deed. And I thought not with anger, but with something close to peace, that they had spent 18 years believing I was the one who needed them. They were about to find out how wrong they had been. For a few days after Dale left, the house was quiet in a way I was learning to like. No calls got through. The locks were new. I saw my doctor that week and told him plainly what I needed and why. He has known me for 20 years. He wrote the letter without any fuss and told me I had a sharper memory than half his younger patients. I mailed a copy to Nadine and kept 1 in the fireproof box. 1 weapon taken out of their hands just as she had said. Then Nadine called with news, and it turned my stomach in a new way. She had gone through the county records the way she said she would. The deed was just as I remembered. My name still there right alongside theirs. But when she pulled the tax account for the property, she found something I had not expected. The property taxes had not been paid, she said. Not this year, not last year, not the year before that. I did not understand at first. I told her that could not be right because I paid the taxes. I always paid the taxes. I had the canceled checks in the folder to prove it. You paid them for years, she said. But look at the dates on your checks. When did they stop? I went to the folder while she waited on the line. I found the last check I had written for the taxes. It was 3 years old. 3 years ago, right around the time of my fall, the tax bills had stopped coming to me. I had been in the hospital. Then I had been recovering. Then a whole year had slipped by, and I had simply assumed, the way you assume the sun will come up, that the taxes were being handled. I thought maybe Dale had finally started paying them himself. I had even felt a small, sad pride about it. My boy is stepping up. He had not stepped up. No one had paid them at all. The bills go to the house, Nadine said. To the property address. That is standard. They go to where the property is. So the notices have been landing in Dale and Tara's mailbox for 3 years. Every warning. Every past due notice. And you never saw a single one because you do not live there. They knew, I said. My voice sounded far away to me. They have been getting those notices for 3 years and they never told me. It looks that way, she said carefully. And Camille, I have to be honest with you about what this means because it is serious. When property taxes go unpaid long enough, the county can move to take the property. It is called tax foreclosure. If that happens, the house is sold to cover the debt. And it does not matter that your name is on the deed. Your share would be wiped out right along with theirs. Everything you put in for 18 years could vanish, not because they signed a form, but because they simply let the taxes rot until the county took the house. I had to sit down. I had thought I understood how bad things were. I had thought the worst of it was a form they wanted me to sign. Now I saw it was worse than that. While they were smiling at me across the grocery store while they were seating me by the trash, they had been letting the ground quietly wash out from under the very house I helped buy. And they had let it happen to my share too, without ever saying a word. To pay their taxes would have meant spending money they wanted to keep. So they had gambled with a house that was partly mine, and they had not even told me the game was on. This was not coldness anymore. Coldness is a person forgetting to call you back. This was different. This was someone putting my money in a fire and standing between me and the smoke. Nadine talked me through it slowly. The good news, she said, was that we had caught it. The taxes could still be paid. The foreclosure had not happened yet. And now that I knew I had choices that they could not take away, she told me to sit tight, keep everything, and let her think through the cleanest path. There was a way through this, she said. There was even a way for me to come out of it standing. But we would take it one careful step at a time. I hung up the phone and I sat in my kitchen for a long while. I was not crying. I was doing what I do best. I was adding it up. 18 years of taxes I had paid. 3 years they had not. A roof, a furnace, pipes, a down payment. A quitclaim deed. A refinance they could not do without me. And now a mountain of back taxes threatening to swallow it all. The numbers were ugly, but they were mine to see now, and that changed something. Tara came on a Wednesday, 10 in the morning sharp. I heard the knock before I saw her, and I knew it was not Glenda who knocks like she is half apologizing, and it was not the mail carrier who comes at noon. This knock was crisp, practiced. When I opened the door, Tara stood there in heels that were wrong for the weather and a coat the color of wet bone. Her lipstick was perfect. Her eyes were not. Camille, she said, like she was reading my name off a list. Tara, I said. She did not ask to come in. She stepped past me like the door was hers, the way she always had. I closed it behind her, slow and easy, and I let her stand in the middle of my small living room while she gathered up whatever speech she had rehearsed on the drive over. This has gone far enough, she started. You have blocked Dale. You changed your locks. You hired a lawyer of all things, over a house you do not even live in. Do you understand how this looks? How much you are upsetting everyone? The children can feel it, Camille. Piper is asking questions. I did not answer right away. I have learned that silence makes some people nervous, and Tara is one of them. She filled it just like I knew she would. We are your family, she said, leaning on the word like it was a rope she could pull me in with. You cannot just turn on us because of one bad afternoon at a party. Whatever you thought you heard, you took it wrong. Dale is beside himself. This is not you. You have always been so easy. Easy, I said. That was the word she chose, and it told me everything. I had always been easy. Easy to seat by the trash. Easy to skip at the toast. Easy to talk past. Easy to ask for a signature that would erase me and count on getting it. I want to ask you something, Tara, I said. My voice was steady. When did you last pay the property taxes on the house? She stopped. It was small, but I saw it. A little hitch, like a needle skipping. What she said. The property taxes, I said. On your house, the one my name is on. When did you last pay them? I do not know what you are talking about, she said, but she said it too fast, and her hand tightened on the strap of her purse. I think you do, I said. I have looked at the account. So has my lawyer. 3 years, Tara. 3 years those bills have been coming to your mailbox and no one has paid them. 3 years those notices have been landing at your address where I do not live, so I would never see them. The house is close to tax foreclosure. Do you know what that means? It means the county can take it. It means everything I put into that house for 18 years could be gone, and everything you put in too because you would rather spend the tax money on something else. Her face had gone very still. I know about the refinance, I said. I know that is what the quitclaim was really for. Get my name off the deed and then borrow every dollar you can out of that house because the shop is failing and you need cash. I am not a fool, Tara. I was a bookkeeper for 31 years. I can read a set of numbers better than either of you. She tried to recover. She lifted her chin. You have no idea what you are talking about, she said. You are confused. This is exactly what Dale and I were afraid of. You are getting older, Camille, and you are getting things all mixed up in your head, and you are letting some lawyer fill you with ideas. Maybe you should not be making these kinds of decisions on your own anymore. Maybe someone needs to step in for your own good. There it was. The very thing Nadine had warned me about word for word coming out of Tara's mouth in my own living room. Getting older. Mixed up. Someone should step in. For your own good. She was building the case right in front of me, laying the first brick of the story she planned to tell a judge if I did not fall back in line. I did not shout. I walked to the side table by the window, and I picked up a single sheet of paper I had left there folded once, and I handed it to her. Read that, I said. She unfolded it. It was the letter from my doctor, clear and dated and signed, stating that I am of sound mind and fully able to manage my own affairs. I have one of these on file with my lawyer, too, I said. And with my doctor. So if you were thinking of telling anyone that poor Camille has lost her mind, that she cannot be trusted, that someone ought to step in and control her money for her, you should know I saw that coming. And I made sure the door was already shut. She stared at the letter. Her mouth opened. Closed. For the first time since I had known her, Tara had nothing to say. You should go, I said. Not unkindly, just clearly. Anything else you need, my lawyer will handle it. Her name is Nadine Alcott. She folded the letter back up with hands that were not quite steady and set it on the table. She picked up her purse. At the door, she turned the way people like her always do, needing the last word even when they have lost. You will regret this, she said. When you are all alone in this little house with no one to check on you. When something happens and there is no one to call. I will still have myself, I said. And I would rather be alone and honest than surrounded by people who wish I were dead. She left. I watched her heels catch on the porch step as she went. I did not feel triumphant. I have said that before, and I will keep saying it because it is the truth. I felt clean, like a window that had finally been washed after years of grime so the light could come through the way it was always meant to. That evening the phone rang. Not a blocked number. A number I did not know. I almost let it go. Something told me to answer. Grandma, a small voice. Younger than I expected. Is this still your number? Piper. It is, I said. My heart was doing something complicated. I found it in one of Dad's old phones, she said. The broken one in the junk drawer. He does not know I was looking. She took a shaky breath. I wanted to say I am sorry. For the party. For not talking to you. For pretending I did not see you at the library that time. I saw you. I just did not know what to do, so I did nothing, and that was worse. I did not rush to comfort her. That old habit, the one that made me smooth over everyone else's shame before my own, I was setting it down for good. What are you sorry for? I asked her gently. Say it true. For treating you like you did not matter, she said. Because that is what everyone at home does, and I just copied it. I did not even think about it until you were gone and I started missing you. And then she said, and her voice dropped, and then I heard them talking. I waited. I heard Mom and Dad, she said. In the kitchen. They did not know I was on the stairs. They were talking about a paper they need you to sign, and how you were being difficult about it, and Dad said something about the bank and the money. And Mom said if she keeps refusing, we will just tell everyone she's not all there anymore and get someone to sign for her. She said it like it was nothing, Grandma. Like it was just a thing you do. And there was a folder on the counter with a pen on top already waiting for you. So it was true. Every piece of it. The plan Nadine had guessed at the threat Tara had just rehearsed at my door, all of it confirmed by a 16-year-old girl on a stairway who was brave enough to pick up a broken phone and call. Thank you for telling me, I said. And I meant it more than she could know. Can I see you? She asked. Just me, not them. I do not want to be part of what they are doing. I thought about the drawer I used to keep for the children, full of stickers and little notebooks that I had emptied to the curb a lifetime ago. I thought about how easy it would be to fold this girl into my arms and forgive everything and pretend the years had not happened. I did not do that, but I did say yes. You can come, I told her. Tomorrow after school, just you. But understand me, Piper. Not for candy, not for gifts, not for the grandma who used to fix everything and ask for nothing. If you come for the truth. That is all I have to give anyone now. I can do that, she said. And I heard her let out a breath like she had been holding it all summer. After she hung up, I sat in the dark for a long time. I was not angry. I was not even sad exactly. I was full the way you are full after a long day of hard, honest work. They had shown me who they were, and now without meaning to, they had also shown me a way through. A girl on a staircase, a folder with a pen on top, a plan spoken out loud where a child could hear it. They had made one mistake over and over for 18 years. They had decided I was harmless. They had decided I was old and easy and already half gone. And because they believed it, they had grown careless in front of me and careless in front of the one person who still had a conscience under that roof. I picked up the phone and I called Nadine even though it was late, and I left her a message. 3 years of back taxes. A refinance they cannot do without me. A granddaughter who heard the whole thing, and a plan if she agreed that had started to take shape in my mind while Tara's heels were still clicking down my porch steps. I was done defending my little corner of that house. It was time to decide what I actually wanted. And for the first time in 18 years, I let myself want something for me. Piper came the next afternoon in a hooded sweatshirt 2 sizes too big and sneakers with the laces undone. She stood on my porch like she was not sure the door would open. "I was not sure I would open it," she said. "I was not sure you would knock," I answered. We sat at my kitchen table. I poured her a glass of milk out of habit, and she smiled at that, a small, real smile, and it undid something in me. We did not talk about her parents at first. We talked about school and a book she was reading and a cat she wanted but was not allowed to have. She picked at a slice of banana bread I had made that morning just to have something warm in the house. After a while she went quiet, and then she said the thing she had come to say. "I do not want to live like them," she said. "When I am older, I mean. The way they are with you. I do not want to be a person who does that." "Then do not be," I said. "You get to choose. Even when it makes them angry, especially then." She nodded like she was filing it away somewhere permanent. Before she left, she pulled a folded piece of paper out of her backpack, shy about it. "It is just a drawing," she said. "I made it last night. It is probably dumb." I unfolded it. It was a pencil sketch, rough but clear. A woman sat in a chair with her back straight and her eyes forward. In front of her was a chessboard. On her side of the board, she had only a few pieces left. On the other side stood a full set, but her few pieces were placed just so in the winning positions, and the full set was trapped. "She is not done," Piper said quietly. "She is just starting to play her game." I could not speak for a moment. I told her she could come back any time as long as she came for the truth, and she said marigolds do not pretend, which made no sense to me. But she laughed when she said it, so I laughed too. After she was gone, I hung that drawing on my refrigerator, and I looked at it for a long time, and then I called Nadine, and I told her I was ready to hear about every option I had. There were a few, she said, but one of them fit what I wanted, and it was called a partition. She explained it plainly. Because I was a legal owner of the house, I had the right to ask a court to divide the property. For a single-family home, you cannot cut it in half with a saw. So what a partition really means is this. Either the other owners buy out my share at a fair value, or the house is sold and I take my rightful piece of the money. Those are the choices a court gives. And I was the one who could set it all in motion just by filing. "I want you to understand what this does," Nadine said. "Right now they are stuck because they cannot refinance without your signature. Filing for partition flips that. It forces the question into the open and puts a clock on it. And there is one more thing. Before any of this can settle, the title has to be clean. That means those 3 years of back taxes have to be paid. There is no buyout and no sale until the county is made whole. So this one move does 2 things at once. It gets you your share, and it forces those taxes to finally be paid, which protects the house from foreclosure. And the children, I said. That was the part I cared about most. If the house is sold, where do Piper and Colton sleep? That is the part you get to shape, she said. You do not have to demand a sale. You can offer them the buyout first. If they can find a way to pay you your share and clear the taxes, they keep the house and the children keep their beds. Only if they refuse or cannot manage it, does it go to a sale. So you hold the power, but you also hold the mercy. It is up to you how you use it. I sat with that. I thought about Colton's soccer trophies and Piper's window and the apple tree in the backyard that still bloomed every spring, even though time had pulled it sideways. I did not want those children to lose their home. I had never wanted that. I only wanted what was mine, and I wanted it out of the hands of people who had put it in the fire. File it, I said, and offer them the buyout. Give them the chance to keep the house. But my share comes to me in real money, and those taxes get paid, and after that I am done being tangled up with either of them. Nadine filed the partition, and everything I had been told would happen happened. Dale and Tara were cornered, and they knew it. A partition action is a matter of public record. It is not a family argument anymore. It is a courthouse with dates on a calendar. And the back taxes which they had hidden for 3 years were now sitting in the open where the judge and the lender and everyone else could see them. Their choice was simple and awful. Let the house go to sale and lose their home, or find a way to buy me out and pay the taxes and keep it. They chose to keep it. Of course they did. And here is the part they never saw coming, the part that Tara, with all her scheming, had never once considered. To buy me out and clear those taxes, they had to take out a new loan on the house, a refinance, the very thing they had wanted all along. But now it worked against them instead of for them, because this new loan could only cover what the court required. My share paid to me, the back taxes paid to the county. The old loan paid off, every dollar of it spoken for. There was nothing left over. There was no cash to pull out for the failing shop, no windfall, no rescue. They ended up with exactly the refinance they had schemed to get, except it saved nothing, and it handed me my money, and it cleared the debt they had been hiding, and it left them holding a bigger mortgage than before on a house they no longer shared with anyone but the bank. They had spent months trying to borrow against that house to save themselves. In the end, the borrowing saved me. It took weeks to close. These things always do. There were appraisals and papers and signatures all handled through Nadine, which meant I never had to sit across a table from either of them. I signed my part in her office in careful, deliberate strokes, the same way I had signed the revocation, the same way I sign everything now, like every letter counts. When it finally closed, Nadine called me at home. "It is done," she said. "The taxes are paid. The house is safe, and it is theirs now, only theirs. And your share has been paid out to you in full. Every dollar you put in over 18 years recovered. You are free of it, Camille." "Thank you," I said 2 words. They held more than most speeches. "I am proud of you," she said. And I heard the smile in it. It is funny, I told her, how many people say that only after you finally start saying no. I want to tell you what I did with the money, because it is the part I am most sure of. I did not keep most of it. I kept enough. I found a small apartment on the quiet edge of town, ground floor, southern windows, a little balcony where the morning light lands. 2 rooms, but honest ones. I bought it outright so no one could ever again dangle a signature over my head. That was the first thing I did. I made sure I would never again be at the mercy of a house. The rest I gave away. There is a place in town called Meadowlark House. It is a shelter for older women who have lost their homes, women who find themselves with nowhere to go and no one to call, often at the hands of the very families they raised. I know that place better than most. When I was young, long before Dale, before Gerald, even there was a stretch of my life when I had nothing and nowhere, and a place very much like that one took me in and kept me safe until I could stand on my own feet again. I never forgot it. I had just never had the means to repay it. Now I did. I walked into Meadowlark House myself. I did not mail a check and hide behind it. I handed it to the director in person, and it was a large check, most of what I had recovered, and I told her it was for the women who leave without their shoes. She looked at the amount, and she started to cry. I did not. I had done my crying, and this was not that. This was intention. Then I sat with Nadine, and I set up a trust so that whatever was left when my own days ran out would go to Meadowlark House too, and not to the son who laughed at a gate. I took Dale out of my will entirely, not out of spite, out of clarity. He has a house now, free and clear, that I made sure to save for his children. He does not need what I have left. He made very plain what he valued, and it was never me. So there it was. The inheritance Dale and Tara had schemed for the money they were so sure would fall to them, one day was gone. It had turned into a home for me, and a safe place for women who had been thrown away just like they had tried to throw me away. And the only reason it slipped through their fingers is that they had decided years ago that I was harmless, old and easy and already half gone. If they had ever once looked at me and seen a whole person, they might have been careful. They were not careful. And carelessness has a price. Dale came to my new apartment once near the end of it all. I do not know how he got the address. He stood in the little hallway outside my door, and I opened it, but I did not let him in. "You did all this?" he said. He was not shouting. He sounded tired and lost, like a man who had looked up from the map and realized he was not the one holding the pen anymore. "You took your money out. You cut me out of everything. Over one bad day." "It was not one bad day," I said. "It was 18 years of them. The day at the gate was just the one where I finally heard it clearly." He looked past me into the apartment, and I think he was searching for something familiar, the old side table, the framed school photos, the basket of holiday cards I used to keep. There was none of that. Just clean walls and light and a drawing on the refrigerator. "I will always be your son," he said. "And I will always be the woman who gave you more than she should have," I answered. Then I stepped back and I closed the door. Not a slam, just a door closing the way a door does. Through the little window beside it, I watched him stand there a while and then he left. That night I let myself cry. I timed it, if you can believe that. 7 minutes. I sat on my new couch in my new home, and I cried for the boy who used to line up dinosaurs on the windowsill, for the version of my family that had only ever lived in my memory, for all the years I spent waiting at windows for people who were never coming. And when the 7 minutes were up, I wiped my face and I made a cup of tea, sugar, no milk, and I stopped. Because endings deserve to be grieved. But they do not deserve to be lived in. The weeks after were the quietest and best I had known in a long time. Piper came to the new apartment often. We fixed up her grandfather's old bicycle together on the balcony, the one she had ridden across town to see me because her mother would not drive her. She helped me unpack. The first thing I hung was her drawing the woman at the chessboard with her few winning pieces right by the window where the light could reach it. I told her it was the truest picture anyone had ever made of me, and she blushed and said it was just a doodle, but she kept looking at it on the wall like she was proud. I invited friends for tea, real friends, women my own age who did not flinch when I walked into a room. Glenda from next door came, and Lorraine and 2 women from the choir I had let drift out of my life. We talked about knees and grocery prices and nothing important, and it was the richest afternoon I had spent in years. No one seated me by the trash. No one wondered aloud why I was still alive. We just sat together in the good light and were glad of it. A letter came from Dale one day some weeks later. No return address, but I knew his handwriting. I opened it slowly. He wrote that he did not know how to fix what he had broken, and that he did not know if I even wanted him to. He wrote that he had said things he could not unsay, and let things happen he should have stopped. He wrote that Piper talked about me every day now that she was braver than she used to be, and that he knew it had come from me. He wrote that he was sorry, and that he hoped one day I might let him try. I did not tear it up. I did not answer it either. I folded it back along its creases, and I put it in a drawer, the same drawer where I keep my important papers in a quiet space where it could rest without being decided. Not forgiveness, not refusal, just a place for it to sit. Some apologies do not need a reply. They only need to land somewhere the harm was once ignored and be still. On the morning I turned 73, I woke without an alarm. There were no balloons and no surprise texts from relatives who remembered me once a year. There was only the light coming through clean curtains and rain somewhere far off, and the soft quiet of a life that finally belonged to me and no one else. I made pancakes, 2 of them with honey and a sliced pear, and I sat in the middle of my little home with a photograph of Gerald propped on the chair across from me. Well, I said to him, "We got here, didn't we?" At noon, Piper came with a handful of red tulips still in their paper sleeve. "You are not a birthday cake kind of person," she said. So I brought flowers like grown-ups do. She gave me a card she had painted herself. On the front were 2 chairs on a porch, one empty and one with a teacup resting on its arm. Inside it said, "Thank you for keeping a seat for me." We had tea and toast, and she told me about a support group she was trying to start at her school for kids who did not feel like home was really home. She asked if she could use my name when she talked to the principal about it. "Only if you use it for something true," I said. She grinned. "That is the only way I use it now." Before she left, she looked me over head to foot like she was taking inventory. "You look different," she said. "I feel different," I told her. "You look like someone who does not flinch," she said. That evening, after she had gone, I sat on my balcony wrapped in a blanket with a cup of tea going cool in my hands, and I thought about the question one last time. The one behind the gate that started all of this. Why is she even still alive? I finally had the whole answer. I am still alive to remember my own name, to keep my own records and read my own fine print, to set my own table and sit at the head of it, to give what is mine to the people and the places that deserve it, and not 1 cent to those who put it in the fire, and to keep my door open just wide enough, just barely, for the ones who come alone and knock with clean hands. That is why I am still alive, and I intend to stay that way for a good while yet.